Welcome to Presidential Fight Club, the show that answers the question, if all 44 presidents fought each other one-on-one, who would win? Hosted by two history professors who have too much time on their hands, Scott Rank and James Early. Hey everyone, welcome to the third fight in round one of the Southeast Regional. Last fight, we saw Andrew Johnson put away our little homunculus, James Madison. Now we're going to see two men, neither of whom are a homunculus, which is a short little dwarfish character. There's our GRE word for today. John Tyler versus James K. Polk. James, take it away for John.
John Tyler, our first president to move up to the presidency from the position of vice president upon the death of a president, called his accidency. He definitely didn't, by his critics, not by himself or his friends. Don't call him that to his face. John Tyler, he definitely didn't lack for confidence, because when his president that he was vice president under, William Henry Harrison, died unexpectedly, John Tyler was told by some people, well, you're just the acting president, or you're just taking on his roles temporarily until we can find a permanent president. And Tyler had some chutzpah, and he said, nope, I am the president. Like it or not, I am president. So he definitely didn't lack for self-confidence. He definitely was not afraid of a confrontation. However, in fact, he ended up being basically kicked out of his own party. He was basically a Democrat, a Jacksonian Democrat in his viewpoints and his political philosophy. He was definitely a Southern states writer, states rights, or how do you say that? I don't know. Anyway, he was in favor of states' rights.
Whatever.
Yes, an advocate for states' rights, but he left the Democratic Party because he got mad at Andrew Jackson. He didn't like Jackson personally and didn't like some of the things he did, so he became a Whig. So he was a wino. Get it? Whig in name only.
Very nice.
Where's my drum shot? Okay, thank you. Anyway, so Tyler was not afraid to do what he believed in and follow his convictions. He was not afraid of confronting even his own party and even being kicked out. Physically, Tyler was about 6 feet tall, roughly. He was so pretty tall, especially for the standards of the day, and he was a very thin man. He was born into a life of privilege. His father had been a governor of Virginia. And he was just raised in the planter culture, so he would have known how to ride a horse very well. But other than that, he would not have done a ton of physical exercise. There's no record that he was into sports or exercise or anything. He was a man of his time, and those kind of things weren't really practiced back then. And given that he was raised in a privileged setting in the planter culture, he wasn't somebody who had to make his living early with his fists like an Andrew Jackson or even an Andrew Johnson. He didn't have to do a lot of hard labor like an Abraham Lincoln. So we're going to have to just go with the fact that he's tall and has no fear, and he's in pretty good shape because he's thin, and he's had some exercise from riding horses a lot. That's all I got.
Well, yeah, I have a similar thing too with James K. Polk, where I'm arguing more on theory rather than actual fact of any heroics or daring do. Okay, so the theory is that he was in the Tennessee State Militia. He was a colonel. He joined a cavalry unit as a captain and eventually became colonel, and was appointed on the staff of Governor William Carroll. At this time in the early 19th century, Tennessee still has that frontier flavor, fighting with different Indian tribes, much like Andrew Jackson definitely did. He didn't see any war service. He was president during the Mexican-American War. Something I really respect about Polk is that he didn't seek a second term. He did what he thought he set out to accomplish in his first term, and that was it. And with the power grab mentality of today's presidents, I can't see anyone doing that today, no matter how much they accomplish in their first term. So there he is in his background. In terms of his physical abilities and his personality, there's a book by William D. Gregorio called The Complete Book of U.S. Presidents, and it has different passages with descriptions. In terms of his physicality, he's a little under medium height, but he's sturdily built. Polk had he had black hair, kind of dark features. From childhood, though, his health was pretty poor and he tired easily, so unless he gets him some good punches, I don't know how long he's going to go in this fight. What he does have going for him is his personality, and I think it's important to always take the whole fighter into account, not just how big they are, but how scrappy and ferocious they can be. He was very ambitious and a classic overachiever, so if you get him down, his ambition will likely keep going. Biographer Charles Sellers called his feverish drive, he attributed it to early physical inferiority and frustrations of his boyish aspirations. So you have someone with a Napoleon complex, and he, according to Sellers, drove himself ruthlessly, exploiting the abilities and energies he did possess to an extent that few men can equal. So he's ambitious. Due to his ego, he'll keep going and he'll keep fighting, and that's what can maybe give him the upper hand over Tyler. But is it enough? James, who wins?
Well, I'm sorry for Governor Polk, President Polk, but he's just too little and he's plagued by health problems, and he's probably, although I tell you one thing about Polk, did you mention his surgery? He didn't mention his surgery.
I did not.
Yeah, let me mention that because it's worth bringing out. Polk was pretty tough. When he was 17, he underwent surgery to remove urinary stones. And of course, if our listeners know anything about history, they know that surgery in the early 1800s was not a fun thing to undergo. It was not a safe thing to undergo. No antibiotics, no real anesthesia. You pretty much just have a little bit of whiskey or brandy and you bite down on a bullet or a stick and the doctor cuts you open. Very, very painful surgery by which they had to cut into his, let's just say lower regions and get out these urinary stones. Some people think that may be why he never had children, because maybe his plumbing was messed up. Let's just put it that way. But so Polk was tough, but the voters of American History Fanatics gave Tyler the nod. It was pretty close, but they gave it to Tyler mainly because of his greater height and his reach that goes with that. And I forgot to mention one other thing too. Tyler did at least attempt to serve in the military. Tyler was part of a militia unit, but it never saw really any action. One other fun fact about Tyler that doesn't really have much to do about his combat, but it bears mentioning, is that Tyler is our only U.S. president who joined the Confederacy, and he is also therefore the only U.S. president whose death was not officially acknowledged by the United States government. So I would say poor guy, but I mean, he brought it on himself. He didn't have to join the Confederacy. Nobody forced him to. But so yeah, John Tyler by a nod.
You can't put Tyler in the box if that's the takeaway from this.
Definitely.
Well, that's all for round one. Round two, we're going to see a few combatants who were seated. That includes George Washington, and it also includes someone we're going to see in the next fight. That is Andrew Jackson. He will be taking on poor James Buchanan. We'll see what happens. Thanks for listening to Presidential Fight Club. If you'd like to download your own printable bracket sheets for each regional tournament so you can guess how the tournament will go, check out presidentialfightclub.com. We'd appreciate it if you could rate and review us on Apple Podcasts as well. Thanks for listening, and may you fight with the stamina of Teddy Roosevelt, the courage of George Washington, and the reach of Abraham Lincoln.